Legends, how are we? The 9th of January 2025, and hasn't this year kicked off like a fucking rocket? It's all going down in whatever town you find yourself resting your head and sleeping at. And yes, this year, 2025, is the choice point. So it is not going to stop, but it will be dependent upon how you choose to see it as it is, or through the lens and perception of your own programs and beliefs. So you're in for a wild ride no matter what. And I'm going to speak about a little bit of that this evening. And I'm also going to give Emergence a plug, which I highly recommend that you take me up on that offer. It will give you the opportunity to refine a lot of the information and knowledge that you have taken on, let's say over the last 4 years or even further back. I don't really like the term reset, but we'll just use that for now to reset your values, your principles, and what actually is your pathway moving forward without the stories of yesterday or the ghosts of Christmas past. You know, continually rolling and leaping forward into the future. This isn't just a 8-week thing, and it's more so to the fact that you will have the frameworks, the developmental structures to spend some time with this and move forward from there. So I will stick the link for that landing page in the comments on both Facebook and YouTube. If you want to have a yarn to me about it, happy to do so. That kicks off on the 22nd of January, and included in that is a year's subscription into the portal community, so where we can have some more deeper conversations. You and I can have some more chit chat and more personal yarns without all the rest of the craziness. But let's kick off. It's I'll give a disclaimer just so that it is out there. I've never hidden away from this fact, but I knew that 2025 was always going to be the year, both from a woo perspective, watching all of this play out for a long period of time. Also, some other connections and contacts that I have that can say fortunate, but like recognizes like, and being able to have continued conversations with some folks, and I'm just going to share this with you here, and then we'll build it out. Okay, so get your notes, get your pad and your notes ready, and we can get into it. So it was at the beginning of 2018. So at this stage, the Q drops had begun. I was looking at it. I wasn't really following it at that particular time. I suppose for me, with all of that info, was when all of the Saudi stuff happened. When they all got locked up in the Ritz, and that was pretty massive, and just the way that chain of events went down. But I was also I wouldn't say told, but just look out for something like that will then things will go in a whole other direction. But within that conversation was around what we're beginning to see play out now, with the breaking apart of the global institutions that are fictitious, one, in their nature, but were always there for another form of control. You'd say New World Order, not like that. But that's another conversation. But where I'm getting to is that On the other side of this, what was shared with me is on the other side of this that you would see Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and the Pacific Islands become a part of, let's say, a US protectorate, adopt elements of the US Constitution, but also be an economic bloc. And that just made sense to me straight away. Like, if I'm a business person first and foremost, that's where my foundations is. So, when I throw this question out there to particularly people in Australia, who is Australia's biggest trading partner? A lot of people just go China, and it's not. It's the US actually. And you can go down that rabbit hole, and it is very big. There's a lot in that which we're not going to get into. But what was explained there was at that time that you started to see those maneuvers, become more public, is know that a lot of the deals and a lot of the new architecture of the systems had been tested and ready to move forward. And obviously my question was, well, I get that, but who's actually going to be in the authority of rolling that out? And the way that it was explained is we haven't got there yet, but if all goes the way that it looks like going, we, the people, would actually have more of a choice depending upon how we are watching it unfold. And the word smarts, having your own smarts, not getting caught up in what you think it is, but being able to see it. What I didn't understand then, and this was another conversation I had in 2021, was, and you could start to see it out, and this is where I'm getting to from the original point, is the psychological fallout. And there's part of me that is a little bit obsessed with that, but I suppose it keeps my busy mind into a project of evaluation that also assists me with what I want to be doing over the next period of time when game changes, which kind of already has, but the rollout phase of that, and to be playing in a new game, new domain of knowing, which is exciting. But what was explained and had a conversation with there, because at that time I was like, obviously the COVID had happened and a whole range of different stuff. And that was obviously the conversation that I had as well, where it was the COVID program's actually finished now and it will be wrapped up by next March. And I put that out there. I got attacked, which is fine, but turned out to be true, didn't it? So old mate knows some things. But what was spoken about there too was that one of the things that was being heavily monitored from many different groups, you talk about NGO like everywhere, was obviously the social medias. And at one part you could say that they are controlled, and they are, but a lot of them have come out of DARPA, DOD, and other projects like that, which that information is all out there. But what a lot of folks didn't really comprehend or know at that time was that how much of the our perceptions of, first and foremost, ourselves and of others had been so skewed up and screwed up for over a decade. And I've spoken about this before, and that's when I suppose I went back into homework mode and understood about the denazification process and what actually happened there. And you can see that there are elements of what has kind of taken place over the last period of time, that nothing is really as it seems. And a lot of, you can say, some of the media that has been put out it's the theatre. But what it has done is it has got so many people in the town square, which is great. Obviously, there's a lot of yelling and a lot of truth for my truth and opinion, but it's got everybody talking, even though it's yelling at each other. It's got everyone kind of there, involved to a degree from a place of talking, has been for a while. And then whether you subscribe to this or not, You're going to find out in the next period of time, yeah? Is that, did Elon Musk really buy Twitter, or was that something else doing things? And the same as Meta. For me, the Mark Zuckerberg announcement wasn't anything. The marker for me was a few weeks ago when Zuckerberg decided to open source his AI. I spoke about this like 3-4 years ago. And it does look like that here are these, different systems opening up where it's going to come into a choice. But the psychological fallout element really has to do with the ultimate psyop, okay, psychological operation, which is your own programs and your own beliefs that are the driver to your actions and reactions. And then you add a bit of ideology in there, and the way that we've skewed the meaning of words, things can get relatively confusing very quickly. And that's essentially where we're at. It's great to see that common sense is on the rise, almost like a rocket ship, which is fantastic. But how are you going to position yourself in actually being able to listen? Because we don't actually listen to what somebody is saying and actually, qualify them of like, can you ask me, can you explain that in another way? Or what do you mean by that, without someone else taking offense, like actually getting it? We've been in this gynocentric pussified state where gypsy, thief, and lion cunt speak in words of validation, and when you don't speak or conform to them, then all of a sudden you're the worst cunt in the world, when the only thing you've done was go, well, I'm not buying into your delusion or the way that you want everything validated. I'm not going to do that. That's on the way out. You can see with all the woke stuff, it's breaking, which is great. But at the same time too, here's these psychological operations of our own programs, beliefs that have been around, and we are all tied into that big time. So hence why there's such a itchy finger on the trigger within the Townsquare at the moment, particularly on Twitter, that it's just boom, everyone's yelling and screaming, coming from a place of some type of expert opinion and attacking people, and it's rather wild. But the moment that it's like, well, can your quantum be qualified, and where actually your opinions are originating from? Are they from some type of subject matter expertise? Like, what actually is it? Or is it you need things to look and be a particular way to be validated, and if not, then everyone else is a bad guy? Well, that there is the psyop that's been infected into the Western culture throughout the last 10 years. And until we really get into a depth and a better understanding of that, this whole psychological fallout phase is going to get more wilder and wilder and wilder. And I say this to you, it is a choice whether you want to play that game. Yeah, it really is a choice. You can do all the shadow work, all the breath work, all the rest of the different things that are from, more left-leaning psychology, and a little bit of Jungian, a little bit of Buddhism, a little bit of a little bit of all the rest of these things that have turned into a language that don't actually really serve anything, but you getting looped up in the past without going, well, no, now in this moment, what choice do I make? What do I have in place to gather the momentum? And, do I have the right people around me, or even within my vicinity, that I'm actually able to communicate in a more effective manner, rather than utilizing the past stories as a frame that I use to essentially control a little bit. And that's kind of where society has been at, hasn't it? Look at where we are now, is that those that contribute and do the right thing don't really get looked after. But those that fuck up and do fuck all and all the rest of it, they need to be supported because of whatever's happened to them in the past. It's a funny game, isn't it? Which way does one lead? and what there is where you want to go, I suppose, in your own choices as new octaves of awareness become more available. It is fascinating. It is going to get very hot because I'll mention this, and this is not easy because I have no doubt I'll cop it, but I know my shit. The digital ID and some of the other things that you could say the globalist or the cabal or those elements have wanted to use to roll out. Well, it really depends upon who's actually in control of that, isn't it? And the mechanisms of it. Because it seems there's a lot of yelling and screaming. There's a lot of words being used. Yeah, but are their actions upon what they believe is going on supporting the words that they're saying? No, it seems that they've been caught up in a lot of contrarian narcissism, that it's just yelling and screaming and posting all just for likes and comments. But at the end of the day, they're really paying attention to where things are moving and seeing things all really as it is in both a objective reality sense and also from a bigger God component, yeah, with the big G, which is it all is of that, depending upon what side of the checkerboard you decide to play in a zealot fashion, or can you find a shade of grey that you feel comfortable in to be able to see the workings of it? Because this is difficult, again, to say, but the betrayal was a part of the path for growth that happened whenever it did. How many of us are still caught up in that? Yeah, wanting heads and wanting all the rest of it. But let's say from a higher vantage point, did that portrayal snap you out of your own delusions and illusions upon how you seen the world? Did it shape you up to be like, yeah, everything isn't all sugar and spice and everything's nice? Or is it still a part of your story upon whatever type of framework? Yeah, I need to continually do. I need to do. Well, at what point can you come into the power of now in your own authority, put the things in place to be able to express your courage? Yeah, like it's getting as simple as that now. The other one as well, because I brought up the digital ID, and if you're paying attention and write this down and just watch this, there's massive opportunity and scope for you. Like seriously, the open source side of things is where the mavericks, the action takers, the crazy people are able to step into that and really move forward. Yeah, that's where new discoveries, new adventures, new methods, and a whole range of different things can come out of it. But at the same time, too, a lot of the technology that's you're seeing at the moment is being just rolled out and pushed out. It's just not being in a closed system, even though a closed system is still going to be there for people to participate in. But over the next few months, you're going to see AI agents become the massive thing. Okay, massive. And if you don't have a digital ID in the way that it is going to happen, you can yell and scream all you want, but we are in a new frontier. Yeah, cyberspace is another domain. What does all of that look like? Well, there's going to need to be more power, more energy generated. You know, like a lot of this AI stuff from some of their data centers chew up heaps and heaps of juice, like heaps. So the whole Green New Deal type of nonsense can't power it. So does that mean that there's a good possibility that some technology might come forward for different phases of power to be able to run those certain things, you can bet your sweet ass that that will be the thing. The other one as well, which is rather scary, but you can see where it's going. I'm going to ask you a question and I'll give you an answer, but this answer is skewed a little bit, but it's close enough. Just over the last 2 months, how much of the content that you think or that you have viewed on social media has had some type of AI influence about it, whether that be a title, whether that be someone who's utilized it to write the video script, whether someone else has used it to find what is trending and actually getting it to speak. So the AI is giving the authority to someone to speak upon a subject that they really know nothing about, and go on and go on and go on. The same as a lot of AI content on YouTube. What number do you think that is right now, just from a personal person viewing it? I'll give you a moment. It's upwards of 75% of all the content that you're viewing at the moment or even reading has some type of AI influence in it. By February of this year, the end of February, it is predicted that it'll be over 90%. And what happens there? You have folks with all of these different, creator accounts on YouTube that are just pumping out information for clicks and ad spend and these types of components. Where does this really get to very quickly? I don't know the full answer of that, but you can see that there's some massive speed humps that we're going to get over. Same as a limiting of bots. That conversation goes on and on. But where I'm getting to with that is that it would seem in the Townsquare with the itchy finger on the trigger is that depending upon one's programs, beliefs, and perceptions upon how they think everything is going is essentially the tune that they're marching to. And that's fine. It's great. It's all out there. But how much from a words and action point of view is that really connected? And I'm not going to sit here and be a Pied Piper or be a smartass, but here's some of these choices that we have in front of us on a first and foremost personal level, but also on a societal level. The contrarian narcissism within the meme wars and all the rest of it, it's relevant, but how much like you on the other side of your screen are caught up in that it's affecting what you perceive of is collective information. Like, here are some things to really put down and generate your own path with what it is that you're actually looking to do, or even have a timeout for a period of time. Hint, that's why emergence would be very good for you, to be able to do that and then come out the other side and be clear and know what actually works for you to move in that direction. But coming down to it, here is this big game, and the big game is the global structures being redefined. It's been a busy week in alternative media. Massive. I've looked at it. I've had a few chuckles, and my heart goes out to the folks in LA at the moment that are dealing with those fires. I know folks, first and foremost, is it getting into the conspiratorial side of things of it? Yeah, that's great, but there's people's lives being affected. Yeah, should that be your priority, where your focus and intent is? Light a candle, a bit of incense, like that there, or is it you need to prove that it was a direct energy weapon? Yeah, like just with the whole Ukraine situation. Yeah, you got over close to a million men that have been murdered. Okay, that have died. There's so many of these things across the world where if you're caught up in this, where is your compassion or your heart? Like, you can sit there and speak about high consciousness or whatever that is. Like, can you just stop for a moment and really understand the gravity of situations? People's lives have been, super affected, and moving forward, that is still going to play itself out. It's not going to be some Superman or Batman movie tale where it all kind of sweeps in and bad guys die and everyone wins. No, things need to play themselves out. We have a lot of lessons to learn and be forced to make better choices. And that's, I suppose, how us humans learn the best. But where I'm getting to is that with global structures, I've mentioned this before, but you can see it really playing itself out now with Germany are looking like they're about to leave NATO. Did you know that? Have you read anything about it? Is anyone speaking about that? Germany moving more to getting back to their national roots, and them doing that is that for over 300 years, Germany were very much aligned with Russia. Yeah, like there's the same type of, there's huge history there. Go check that out. And Germany has been the whipping country since World War II. It's been heavily used and a whole range of different things, which a lot of people are aware of right now. But Germany leaves NATO. They leave the EU. EU is essentially, NATO's finished. Yeah, what does that look like? Does that look like part of the old German Empire, with like Poland and those types of things actually being reshaped? The answer to that is yes. The situation in Taiwan, how that plays out, I'm not 100% sure, but apparently those deals have already been done, but it's just a matter of timing. But will Taiwan become a part of China? The answer is yes. Will they keep elements of their independence? Yes. And then it comes into the Pacific situation. As we know, there's a lot of Pacific islands that are both still got the Union Jack on them, and there's quite a few that are a part of the US. Does that get reorganized with what happens with Canada being a part of the Commonwealth and elements of New Zealand becoming a state of Australia and that going through? This is happening, folks. Like, even with the, let's say, BRICS nations, what's going on there? There's different economic blocks. And back in 2020, I was speaking about this. People thought I was fucking off my rocker. Here we are. One thing I'm not sure about is the way that it was communicated to me is that there would be an economic bloc or some type of alliance that would be of the cricketing nations. The reason why cricket, and you can see, with Australia and India, that's just happened in the Test series in Australia, which is great to watch, great viewing, is that there's a connection in culture through a sport that the US doesn't have. They have baseball played in the US, not by any other country, but the title they give themselves is world champions. There's some developmental things to go on there. There is a lot of cross-cultural side of things that need to come into some type of recognition, and it's not going to be easy. Part of the elements of the psychological fallout, because even like now, it's pretty self-evident what's going on with COVID. Yeah, it doesn't matter whichever way that you look at it. There's something there. Yeah, let's keep it G-rated. How does that sort itself out? I know people want heads and all the things. Like, how does that actually sort itself out? Well, that actually can't be sorted out until some of these global structures have their kind of, the word that I've heard is kind of a remittance, yeah, a reclamation, coming back to their foundations upon what that actually really looks like and where things are headed to. And we can all sit there and yell and scream I don't want that, I want this, da, 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 da. But they're just words sitting generally behind someone with a computer that has spent way too much time doing research rather than looking at things going, well, where's the best place I can put myself in playing in a new domain of knowing? Can I do some more listening? Can I do some support? Can I actually do something? Or am I just going to continually sit there and pay lip service because I get clicks and likes? But underneath absolutely everything that I somehow have proclaimed some type of authority in my Gypsy Phoebe lying voice is that I don't have any ground to stand on. It is all an illusionary component that I have created with a digital persona. Interesting, isn't it? I hope I'm not being too cryptic and keeping it of a steady pace to suggest ultimately this for you. Nothing is as it seems, okay? There is a process that has been underway for a significant amount of time. Social media has been monitored. There is psychological operations that are viewing content and mapping certain communities upon how they're actually going. Hence why there has been such an intensification over the last little period of time. And also as well, when it comes to AI, it's actually learning real time now upon a different form of psychology, which then moves into what I'm about to share with you, which is, I suppose, something one would go on as a concern. And then someone else could look at it and go, well, this opens up into a whole other game. And it's this. Since the computers came on board and the internet, it's all been software, really, hasn't it? The only real hardware that we've had to connect with the internet has been these things here, a PC. Yeah, let's just utilize those two there. Okay, obviously Xbox and those components, but it's essentially a closed system. Yeah, even Windows and ISO and stuff like that, it's still a closed system. NVIDIA's just brought out an AI supercomputer for $3,000 that changes the game. And I give myself a pat, speaking about this 2 years ago, that would be a marker. But where I'm getting to now is that with AI and AI agents, yeah, and us learning how to use them, is that a lot of tasks and jobs aren't necessarily needed anymore. And it moves us into you could say almost a revolution or evolution into new forms of hardware where AI can actually run that. Like people would straight away be going robots or driverless cars or a whole range of different things. And for the dudes out there, even some of the sisters, do yourself a favor and go and just type it into YouTube and go have a look at AutoCAD, okay, AI. So now you have AI linked into AutoCAD and you can tell it what you want and it'll bring it up. Yeah, a whole range of different things. So depending upon how you're actually wanting to go about this and actually move with your thoughts and actions, okay, there is a great opportunity for you. But if you're going to sit around and just continually play lip service and be in more of a reactive nature to what is being projected to you, you're going to get caught up in that. And I personally don't want to see you on the other side of this really getting caught up in yelling and screaming games or all the rest of it. I don't want that. It means this, all the things. Well, suck it up, princess. It's going the way that it is going. And the best way for you to have any effect on it is actually get off your fucking ass and away from the computer, away from the yelling and screaming, and actually get involved with what it is that lights you up in a new octave of knowing. Yeah. Because here's the kicker too, yeah? And this is more from a spiritual sense, yeah? Esoteric sense, is that we have already, as a planetary species, surface planetary species, I shall say, have chosen to move into a new octave of truth and a new domain of knowing the self. at its simplest form. I know folks would want to jump on it with their oh yeah, but let's just keep it fucking simple there. Okay. But that last component, yeah, a new domain of knowing the self. That self being, can you really see things as they are, first and foremost, in a higher octave of truth, rather than being caught up in programs, beliefs, and perceptions, and still needing the adversary to bounce off with to give the pseudo personalities that we create, generally from the past, and regurgitate the stories, this fictitious game. Because ultimately, in an octave of truth, generally when I mention that to people, I'll look at truth as external, truth about COVID, the space, all the things. But let's break it down to its fundamental level, yeah? An octave of truth and a new domain of knowing the self. Well, how honest is oneself in the lies that we tell ourselves and therefore need to project because of something else? Can one come into their own authority and express themselves from that without the facade of, I need to do it this way to be a chameleon. I need to do it this way so I don't invalidate anybody. You know, like, where does one come into their own power and being able to speak from a place and a position of where they're at and know where they actually sit in the room? Because this is, I suppose, more for the dudes. Yeah. And I might be speaking out of school here, but I've had plenty of experiences over the last decade and even before that where it becomes very quick, where there's a lot of this, yeah, a lot of it. But when it comes down to actually sitting at the table and having that conversation, well, the lowest common denominator essentially gets themselves found out and it becomes emotionalism. And you get caught up in not being able to do anything because you're managing people's states that their lies don't want to be exposed. You get what I'm saying here? But if you move into something, you know where you're at. And particularly dudes, yeah, we size ourselves up. You know, who's the fucking strongest, who's got the wit, who's good with strategy, who's the fucking dodgy cunt that's always able to get something hot. You know, we know, yeah, like it's a dude thing. But when you know someone who knows their shit, that has experience, what do? You sit down, you shut the fuck up, yeah, observe, and like, okay, cool, this is the goal, this is what we're getting done. Okay, what's best role for me to play? And through that phase that's where their growth and learning and banter and all the rest of this stuff is, you know, really going. And this whole DEI type of nonsense that's been going on, particularly in the West, this is where, you know, I seen it the other day. I think it was from Andrew Tate, yeah, where it's out with the old and useless, in with the competent. Yeah, out with the old and useless, in with the competent. And this is the question in truth, isn't it? In honesty, are we actually competent and have been through some type of, let's say, learning experience, or have learnt from someone who has some type of subject matter expertise or knows what the fuck they're talking about to be able to gain that wisdom and that vantage point? Or have we been caught up in, it sounds good, feels good, oh, that will be the thing that I run with? Because here's the tough love that I wrote before. And this is ultimately where I'm going to finish it off before I give Emergence another plug. And obviously, you know, Magus as well. So if there's some lads here that are like, okay, it might be time for me to have a chat with fucking Eagles, definitely do so. Yeah, my game's about to change. But here's the tough love. Like, you see what you see. Yeah. And I know for like a lot of you, it's hard sometimes to be able to express and be able to have the conversations that you actually want to, particularly at this time. Okay, that's across the board. Like, it doesn't matter, because there's a lot of folks that aren't able to even come to terms with the truth of those conversations that are happening internally. But here goes the tough love component, yeah? If you know it to be true in every fiber of your being and heart, but some of your choices are being skewed upon a perception, whether that be through family, through friends or circles or anything like that, that isn't who you actually really are anymore, there's some bigger conversations to be able to be had. And the tough love component is this, yeah? Sometimes, well, not sometimes, all the time, the betrayal is part of the growth, but it is very fucking painful when you go through it. You go through the different stages of grief or all the rest of it. And sometimes it's just one conversation that you can have with someone that just gives you the straight up, honest truth, no bullshit, that light goes on and like, fucking that's that. Game changes. Do you have that conversation with someone that you trust, or are you able to actually have it with yourself? Because here we are in the great changeover point, choice point. And you and I, individually and socially, have already made choices. As the choice points actually arrives, are you going to be able to make them from here out, or is there still the adversarial game that we have played in our needing to project in particular ways? Yeah, some things that we've kind of adopted from parents and family and, all the things. Is that really where you want to be continually going from that choice point? Or is it, I know better, therefore what do I put in place to do better? And understand that it isn't a home and away story where it's just tuning to the next episode to tomorrow. It's generally a period of time to be able to establish that. And the world is what you make it in the consistency of your choices, and what you put in place. But ultimately, if you need to keep lying to yourself, well, what actually is it are you choosing? And that there is the witches and warlocks that only know how to lie and how to set up things that look like something but in another way. Are you still playing in that game and needing to yell and scream? Or is it you're choosing a completely different way? And I'm not just throwing the baby out the bathwater and it's all love and light. Like, that is very, very serious what's going on. But what are you here to do? What are you here to play in? I was having a yarn like a month or so ago to a good mate from quite a few years ago, and made some big choices. And one of those choices was selling his business and a whole range of different things. Everyone thought he was mad. What are you doing? And he was like, my soul is exhausted, and everything I have been doing has been for everybody else. Yeah, he's like, I'm 44, and he goes, I don't even know what my own voice is anymore. I've spent the last fucking 15 years giving everything to my business and his ex-wife now, and the kids and all the rest of it, and none of it was still ever good enough. And he was of the opinion, which I agree with him, is that if he had have probably spent some time, and I was the same, probably had to spend some time traveling between 18 and 21, he would have made some different life choices. But by the time he was 20 or 21, he was in the game. And when you're in the game, there's a whole range of different things that we go and play the game with, and it's just unfortunate. Both men and women are that are adults, not adults acting as children, or at this time at least having some type of conversation with, is like, am I who I really am? You know, um, what actually is it that I'm here kind of doing? You know, what gets me going? Because am I going to keep doing this until I retire and I got no good years left in me for the white picket fence or all the rest of the things that at the end of the day don't really mean anything? Um, have I got something more to offer myself than what I kind of stumbled into when the world told me I had to have it all figured out when I was 18? For boys, yeah, for boys and for men. Or is there some different things to actually consider and actually look at, which is for me most exciting component of this next period of time with the the Renaissance revival, a man and his muse, inspiration, um, because through all of these components, obviously there's a much bigger conversation I can have, but there's no point in it. I think I've laid out enough to give you some scope upon um, maybe just occupying a little bit of taking a moment to just observe and see where things are going, um, and paying attention to that rather than the town square where everyone is just popping off. You'd actually be able to see which way things are going rather than the perception of it's all doom and gloom, it's all love and light, it's all this, it's all that. They're all really relevant, but it doesn't matter even me communicating that to you. It's how you see it and how you choose to action in your own pathway and where that's actually coming from. You don't need to have it figured out. All you need to do is to continually work the problem. What is the problem? Well, first you need to identify the problem, and then being able to work it is where the growth is. And through that, there is where you will find more consistency with people that are actually in a resonant tone with you and can impart wisdom onto you that has gone through an inner alchemy process, through a learning experience, generally through some fucking messed up shit. And that there, rather than just a little bit of Jung, a little bit of Buddhism, a little bit of Native American medicine man, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But at the end of the day, it hasn't been earned in the cauldron of standing underneath the sun at its meridian and earning it through experience, through blood, sweat, and tears. It's a choice. Which way does one want to go? Is it action, or is it going to be emotionalism? It's going to be lunar or solar. Choice is yours. Hope you have a good choice. Now, last plug for Emergence. Hit me up. Happy to have some conversations, whether it's with that or Magus. You guys have probably seen me slowly stepping back for a period of time on the socials or whatnot. Like, we'll see with Zuck, because if a lot of you guys know what I put up with, it's near on ridiculous. But anyways, yeah, it's a different way of going about it. I've been working on for a while, which is exciting, but would love for you to be able to take an opportunity with something like Emergence first and foremost to just go through a refining process. Go check out the landing page. That there is essentially the structure. There are some other components to it. You guys know the way that I roll. This isn't is a thing of wham bam and come out after 8 weeks and be like, oh my god, I'm super galactivated or whatever. It is a body of work that you can take on as a part of your experience, and I do hope for those that do it on the other side of it are able to actually write their own, let's say, constitution, their own tenets, their own values and principles that they actually adhere to, that they actually bounce off with, that there's able to really build esteem and authority from a mind, heart, and word commitment, and being able to get comfortable in the uncomfortable when everything is going to be uncomfortable for the next period of time, and being able to stay in your lane with it, what it is that you're doing, rather than listening and getting caught up with the itchy finger on the trigger Townsquare, where most of those folks are gypsy thieving, lying cunts that have arse infections because they just sit on the fence and want to keep lighting fires. And when they catch some smoke, they want to play the bitchcraft game. I wish all of them, but if that's the game you want to get caught up in, well, yeah, good luck with that. There is some growth in there, but I wouldn't be wasting my give a fuck bucks with that. Yeah, it's truth attainment now. Now is action time. Are you in the game, or are you just talking about the game up in the bleachers? Because remember, yeah, no matter if you're on the bench for a period of time when the game's playing, yeah, you're still on the ground. Don't worry about the people up in the bleachers or in the peanut gallery. Don't worry about them. They didn't actually have the courage to step forward and put themselves out there, did they? It's all like a little fucking chihuahua. Forget about them. Forget about people think about you. If you can really get into who it actually is that you are and want to express without the adversary being around, or the fog, so to speak, or the smoky mirror upon, I need to be a particular way to get this result, all the rest of the other nonsense, you're going to be able to see with one eye be singular and follow your will, intent, in congruence, where at the end of the day, I heard this from Paul Sallet the other day, and it's very beautiful, isn't it? Which is, you talk about the kingdom of heaven being some faraway place. No, it's not. The kingdom of heaven is coming into an actualized, well, he says actualized state. I would prefer actualized moment, because I've never been able to actualize that state, but I'm pretty sure you've had a few of these moments where you're moment and be able to see everything as it is, if being all of one source, essentially playing out in different rhythmic tones, and what one's choices are, their programs, beliefs, and perceptions, and what drives their actions is their beliefs. It is a different octave of wave. That's why sometimes when you're in a state, you're able to vibe with somebody. Yeah, like I can remember, still love some of those boys to death. But when you're on the gear and you're getting pissed and stuff like that all the time, like, you generally vibe with people like that, don't you? You're in that rhythm. You're not really going to vibe with somebody who's playing chess and stuff like that in the library, are you? Yeah, different worlds apart. But how do you justify that? Oh, they're a nerd, they're doing this. All those folks that are in the chess game, intellects, oh, they don't know what they're doing, da-da-da-da-da. Can we get past that, even in our own internal games that we're playing through the psyop of psyops, which is the psyop is our own programs, beliefs that drive our action and reaction. We come to terms with that, you're already halfway there. And the commitment to what you do next is entirely up to you and where that comes from. So peace out, legends. Don't hesitate to reach out to me, whether it be on the through the website, or even on we'll say Facebook and YouTube. Let's have a chat about emergence, and also can have a chat about Magus, which will be where my direction really is heading towards. But emergence is there for anyone, really, both men and women, to get into something with frameworks, structures, a lot really to take away. and make it their own. Choice is yours, legends. Peace out. Yeah, it really is game time now. Your choices are more important than you could even imagine. And then remember what imagine is, yeah? Imagination, really. I am a magician in my own nation, therefore I create my own reality. But how are you creating your own reality? Well, your reality is being created by your perceptions, your intent, your programs, and your beliefs. If you actually come into knowing of actually what that really is all about, where they've come from, and how you react to certain things or act from a position of, you will actually be able to see the code in the matrix that you're actually subscribe to, and therefore it becomes a choice then, doesn't it, to act or to not, to RSVP or to say no. I know that game. For you guys, I've said it a few times, as a bit of comedy, but I'm done doing the nut bush. I'm done doing the fucking bus stop. I'm done doing the Macarena. I'm done doing the hokey pokey and all the rest of those fucking dances. I'm finished with it. Not from a place of I just don't want to do that no more, but that's just not my game anymore. I know it, and for me to go and want to repeat it, that's a form of fucking insanity. And to be honest with you, I haven't gone and done what I've done over the past 13 years now, to get to this point in time, which was always a dreaming vision of mine, to not do what I know I am capable of, but also in a new domain of knowing and being comfortable in the uncomfortable. So peace out. Lots of love. Remember your humanity and your compassion, because as much as it's this and it's that, there are people that are going through some struggles, and you might be one of those people too soon. So you eat what you serve, and what are you serving? So just remember that, yeah. We are one family, whether we like to agree with it or not. And some of the chaos brings the best out of us. So peace out to you, Mavericks. Lots of love and respect, and know your game and play to win. Peace out.